Alright, it's me once again. This is the third installation, shall we say, of my little series, and I'm going to continue in the maladaptation with number 6. Evolution should have been removed, evolution should have removed HIV from the human race, as we would have built an immunity to it, much like bacteria do to antibiotics, yet we have not. In fact, the continued existence of disease is proof against evolution, as natural selection would have left only humans who are immune to them. Okay, first of all, let me explain how disease works, or HIV at least. It's sexually transmitted, obviously, and it attacks the immune system and cannot be defended against, really, in the first place. Not everyone has been exposed to HIV, so there's no reason that the human species would need immunity to it at this point in time. Maybe 200 years from now, yes, because we reproduce much slower than bacteria do. Bacteria reproduce very quickly, which is why they are able to adapt to antibiotics and become immune to them. And the fact that disease still exists is not evidence that evolution is not true, because diseases adapt faster than we can adapt to them. Therefore, the diseases should be able to still infect us, which they do, which is actually evidence for evolution. So your argument is retarded once again. Schizophrenia is a disorder that causes a person to be unable to distinguish fantasy from reality. It is an inherited disorder and affects nearly 1 in 100 people. Scientists still have yet to explain what causes it, but this is for certain: if evolution were true, it should have eliminated such an obvious disability long ago. No, that's not true, because schizophrenic people are still able to reproduce, so there's no reason that it would have been eliminated. Wrong prediction. The loss and addition of large DNA sequence blocks are present in humans and gorillas, but not in chimps. Even though the gorilla is lower on the primate tree than the chimp and supposedly more distant to humans. How could these large blocks of DNA, from an evolutionary perspective, appear first in gorillas, disappear in chimps, and then reappear in humans? I don't know what that's talking about, so I'm not going to bother addressing that one. Lack of any vestigial organs in the human body. Okay, nipples, the appendix, let's see, I don't know. There's a lot. Goosebumps. And that's just coming from me, who really knows nothing. The lack of vestigial organs in the human body. While evolutionists used to claim dozens or even hundreds of human traits and organs were vestigial, useless items disused through evolution, we now know what functions they all have, including the appendix. Okay, well, we don't use the appendix anymore, so it's still a vestigial organ. Lack of any demonstrable vestigial parts of the human genome. While evolutionists often claim that regions of the genome are junk DNA and would not have been placed there by a designer, none have actually shown this to be true, and much so-called junk DNA has shown to be useful. Okay, yeah, 99% of our genome actually is junk DNA that we know of, and while there are parts of that that are useful, the vast majority of it are useless, so that is a moot argument. While evolutionists argue that there are examples of bad design in the bodies of many organisms, such as flaws in the human spine and sinus system, evolutionists fail to realize that, by their own theory, natural selection should have removed these things. No, it doesn't. If it can reproduce, it can pass along its faults. And most of the time it can still reproduce, so therefore it can pass along its faults. That's stupid. We have the number of teeth to fit in our mouths, the perfect number of teeth to fit in our mouths. While creationism perfectly accounts for that result, evolution predicts a contrary result. As our faces evolved from chimpanzee-like faces to human faces, the shortening of the muzzle would have caused the teeth to become overcrowded in the mouth. Wisdom teeth. Human fertility is rapidly declining, disproving evolutionary improvement in humans, also suggesting a brief timeline for human existence. Human fertility is rapidly declining because of all the chemicals we are ingesting in our water and our food. Has nothing to do... Oh, and in the radiation that's caused by our cell phones and the sun, because of the holes in the ozone layer, so that's also dumb. The remarkable whale, which is a mammal, has no plausible evolutionary ancestor. That's actually not true at all. There are a lot of known ancestors to whales. I can't remember the name. Google whale evolutionary tree. I'm sure you'll find it. No transitional forms appear from horses. Instead, different and distinct horse-like animals appear in the fossil record. Okay, I don't see how that's not transitional forms, but okay. I'm not even going to bother with that one. The enormous gaps and lack of intermediate species in the fossil record once all the frauds are removed. Okay, every fossil, for the most part, is an intermediate fossil between one species and another. Okay? I'm not going to get into this, and obviously the vast majority, i.e. More than 99% of all species and organisms ever have not been fossilized. So I don't know where your argument's coming from there. No clear transition from unicellular to multicellular organisms. That's because it's believed to have happened, like I explained it earlier, in colonies and billions of years ago, so it's hard to fossilize single-celled organisms. Yes, it happens, but it's very rare. Mammalian fur and body hair. There is no known evolutionary pathway for the development of fur, and no fossil evidence of hair evolving from scales, even though it survives very well. I don't know how hair evolved, but I can maybe do a hypothetical. Say there was a... okay, you know the armadillo? How it has hair sticking out through its little scaly back? Probably evolved somehow like that, with tiny sensory hairs evolving and then spreading over the body. I don't know. Where are the human ancestors? There, that is where ones that weren't frauds. Okay, we have plenty of human ancestors documented and found. I'm not going to bother explaining. Google it. I don't really care. Anyway, paradoxical fossils. There have never been any paradoxical fossils, but whatever. The fact that new discoveries such as Raptor X, which doesn't even have an article and isn't cited at all, routinely call into question key dogmas of evolutionism and require the immutable laws of evolution to be reassessed. By contrast, creationism has prevailed in the face of scientific discoveries for 6,000 years. No, it hasn't. Creationism hasn't even existed for that long. Irreducible complexity. The immune system is irreducibly complex, as without one which is thoroughly developed, an organism would not be able to resist any infection. Where's the argument? I don't know. The extraordinary long neck of the giraffe. It serves no function. The theory that giraffes use the long neck to eat from high tree branches was never true. Yeah, it was. The presence of valves in the neck, which are necessary because of its great length, raise a question of how one could have arisen without the other being there first. Okay, how it worked is basically they evolved from a shorter necked animal, obviously, and one with a slightly longer neck was able to reach slightly higher than its little friend, and that continued on for a very long time, and over time the necks got longer because they were able to reach farther. I'm not sure what valves it's talking about, but I'm sure they evolved somewhere in there because an animal who mutated structures to support its neck would be less likely to break its neck than an animal that did not. Anyway, the development of wings. Those intermediary wing stubs would have no use and be a competitive disadvantage. That's not true. There was something in, I don't remember where I read it, about flies, and their wing stubs were used to balance them while they flew with their other wings. I'm not sure how the wing evolved, probably from flaps of skin under the arm, which led to wings. Anyway, the flagellum, a multi-part cellular motor which fails to function if a single part is removed, is the classic example of irreducible complexity and cannot arise from the theory of evolution. Okay, let's see. The flagellum, a multi-part cellular motor which fails to function if a single part is removed. Okay, that's a unicellular organism that we're talking about, so I'm not really sure what this is even trying to argue, because the single parts wouldn't really be removed. Many bats, which live in caves, employ a type of sonar in order to navigate and find prey. Evolutionists propose that the bat evolved from a squirrel-like mammal, but a squirrel would have no use for a sonar system. The bats can't fly without sonar, and an animal that can't fly doesn't need it. Therefore, bats must have been created with fully functioning sonar in flight. Okay, that's not true. I'm sure bats evolved first seen by sight, And then as time moved forward, the use of sound became more viable when it was darker, allowing them to hunt later at night with less competition. It's not really hard to figure out. The organ and brain development required for retinal imagery requires a base level of complexity, making a primitive form useless and impossible under evolution. No, it doesn't. The beginning of vision is theorized to be a patch of light-sensitive cells on the surface of an organism's skin. It might have even been just a small multicellular organism, and that light allowed it to sense shadows, if anything, and that allowed it to escape from prey or predators, which then obviously passed along its genes. You know, it's not even hard to figure out. I don't see what the problem is here. I'll do one more and then we're going to move on to the next video. Blood clotting is a unique process unlike any other in the body, without which the smallest cut would be life-threatening. Only a fully developed clotting system is functional and therefore could not have evolved through intermediate stages. Okay, first of all, I need a citation there. There is no citation there. I'm not really sure how the clotting system developed, but I'm sure there's a reason for it. I mean, what can I say? We're going to end this video, and I'm about to move on to the next, so once again, go watch that.